About 2 months ago, I did an open call on a YouTube community post to get some raw photos from you all, and a ton of you submitted raw photos. Thank you so much. I'm sorry it took a while for me to get here, but I just wanted to showcase the new tools I've been using in Lightroom. We're in the middle of another launch week of the classroom, open enrollment for the classroom with massive discounts. If you haven't heard, this past Monday, I released the opening with the biggest discounts I've ever given on the classroom with $600 off the bundle, both the photo and video course. If you're unfamiliar with what the classroom is, it's my wedding photography and wedding filmmaking course, but it's $600 off the bundle and it's $400 off either the solo photo course or the solo filmmaking course. This whole week is just going to be giving a ton of information and just stuff for free. I want to do that today, just showcasing some of my Lightroom workflow. In the course and the editing module on the photo side, I do my entire breakdown of what my workflow looks like in Lightroom for weddings, from start to finish, import to export, even to upload on PickTime, my photo delivery service. And then I even go into how I sell prints and all that good stuff as well, the entire process. This isn't in the editing version of the course yet because that was filmed 2 years ago. Now with the integration of AI into the realm of editing, this is going to be an updated thing that I put into the next editing module. So as time has progressed with the classroom, there has been adjustments and evolution in the modules. This will be updated eventually as well. So if you enroll in this period or you already have enrolled in years past, you will be able to watch that new module and how I'm integrating AI into my workflow now. Before I jump in, really just want to talk about my philosophy with AI integration into my workflow. I am one of those people that's not stoked about the AI revolution, to be honest. What I am excited about is using them as tools to increase efficiency and not to take over the world. I think a lot of people are under the impression in the creative photo and video world that AI is going to change who they are as an artist, or it's going to revolutionize their ability to be an artist. And I think that's hogwash. I don't think that's reality. I think what AI can do for us is just expedite the processes that may be cumbersome for us to get to the final goal that we have as artists, or newest evolution of our creative voice or artistic voice. So I'm going to be talking about that philosophy in this workflow and how I have been the past few months using the AI software that is paired with my presets, and developed the company that made my presets in conjunction with me. To give some clarity to that, Impossible Things develops AI service. So if you go to Develop, and Develop is spelled DVLOP, develop.com, this is their main page, and you can find my name up at the top as one of their featured photographers with presets. That will take you to this banner page, and you can explore my 606 preset collection here. And so this is Ravenswood, Belmont, and Montrose. So there's 2 color presets. One is really standard, beautiful kind of film emulating colors that just feels natural and normal. And then Belmont is a bit more of a vibey, desaturated, more contrasted look. And Montrose is a black and white that works super well across any kind of circumstance, with whether it be harsh light and dark shadows or really grainy, vibey stuff. So here is where you would find 606 and what I'll be using on editing your photos today, the ones that submitted. But the Impossible Things integration is super interesting because they have a whole pricing guide. So there's different subscriptions you could do. You could do like a yearly subscription. I believe they still have the Founders thing going at this time. So that would be 3 cents an image at $10 a month baseline. And that's with the first 1,000 people to get in as subscribers. And then after that, it'd be 5 cents an image with $10 a month. And then pay as you go, instead of going monthly, you could do 7 cents an image, just kind of indefinitely. But what's really cool about this is all of their featured artists on Develop, myself included, not all of them, but a lot of them have their presets available in this cloud style of AI editing. So you don't even have to have the actual presets purchased and imported into Lightroom, but you could actually use some of the styles. Like you could use Jose Villa styles, so you could use Nirav Patel styles within the AI editing. And I'll show what that looks like in Lightroom here soon. But you can see that 606 and my name here is available in cloud style, as well as all of these other people, which is really, really cool. So I will go into Lightroom now. I have all of the photos that I selected from the hundreds that were sent. I could only select one per person, if that. Some weren't named, and the downloads were kind of crazy. But I selected a bunch that have some interesting qualities like to, clone stamp or to sharpen or to adjust color and all the different nuances that you would normally find. We even have 2 film photo scans, which is pretty cool. And I can show you how I convert those as well. But yeah, I'm just going to dive in and give you a short synopsis of what a bit of the workflow looks like with the AI integration. So as I talked about in the editing portion of the classroom, I have a whole section where I go to library mode to start. And I previously would just put my preset on everything. Like I said, in the classroom, I go through all the nuances of that, of adjusting all the things with tone control over in the right panel over here. What's crazy is that basically that whole process has been expedited with Impossible Things. So now that I have my presets within Impossible Things, I can literally just apply Ravenswood to this entire gallery, and then the computer will literally, like the AI will literally make the adjustments that I normally would in library mode to the images right away. And what's crazy is that you can kind of train it to have custom tuning based on your own preferences. So if you notice over a multitude of images that it's doing something that you don't necessarily like or you want to tone down, whether it be contrast, exposure, saturation, you can make those adjustments to the machine. You can actually, I might as well just jump in here. So if I want to apply, I'm going to just select all in gallery mode, and I'm going to deselect the film images because that's a different process. But we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Plugin Extras, and this whole thing is done if you get Impossible Things. In the plugin section, you'll find Impossible Things down here in the middle, and I'm going to go to Edit Photos. So there it says I have one photo that's not raw. I don't know which one that is, but it can only process raw photos. So here I have this pop-up, and I'm going to go to 606, and I'm going to select Ravenswood, as I mentioned, being my standard, what I usually use for all weddings and portraits, unless I want to go for more of a vibe with Belmont. But I'm 95% of the time using Ravenswood here. I can click adaptive lens corrections, which I want, and adaptive noise reduction. And then you have the ability to do an enhancement of subject and retouching. So that's more of the advanced parts of the machine that you can either select or not select. And there's a multitude of different things that you can do within the software to customize those things as well. So we're going to proceed and put it on all of those images, and you'll see how quickly it puts it on there. So I think I had 51 photos selected, and it's probably going to get it done in about 30 seconds. You can see all those thumbnails start to switch. Pretty awesome. Really exciting to watch, honestly. Because it's not just putting a preset on. Like I said, it is putting the preset on and making adjustments to the image, correcting for exposure, contrast ratio, saturation. Like, it's doing all of those things. So while it's doing that, I'll show you kind of the tweak menu that I talked about earlier. So under editing photos, you have a panel called custom tuning. And in there, I'll have to wait till it's done. In there, you can make those adjustments to the machine to fit your own style. So you might be using my preset, you might be using another artist's preset on Develop, but you could basically adjust it to your own thing. And as I mentioned before, you don't even have to purchase their preset pack. You can use their styles within the AI over however many images you want. Okay, so it says editing's been completed. That's how long it took to do 50 photos. So if you imagine you do it on a gallery of 500, that'll maybe take 3 minutes, which is just bonkers. So we'll go up here and we're gonna go to the custom tuning. And in the custom tuning, you'll see all of the things that you can change and apply. So I have personally custom tuned all the things I want to with Develop already. So that's why mine are just leveled out at 0. And if over time with more application, I find that I want to make even more adjustments, I can go in here and it's essentially everything that's in the tone control panel and everything you would find in Develop mode in Lightroom, and you can adjust it based on how much you see across and how much you want it to change. Exposure, temperature, tint, contrast, all the things you'd be doing in Develop. Now, the intelligence percentage is basically you telling the AI how much you want it to tweak it. So if you feel like it's doing too much, you can drag that percentage down as well. So that's very cool. Okay, so I was going to title this video, I Edit Your Photos with AI, but that's it. That's like really all I'm doing with AI there. That is just expediting the process of what I would normally do before. Instead of taking, an hour or two to adjust all that stuff in library mode before switching to develop mode, it's doing so much more of the heavy lifting for me. A lot of times when I apply the preset there, images would maybe be 20 to 40% done. And now it feels they're more like 60 to 80% done, because it's still not doing cropping, it's still not doing clone stamping, anything like that. I still need to go in and make those adjustments. And there's very specific things to these images that I want to draw out, or whether it be specific colors, contrast ratio, shadows, and all the very specific things like clone stamping. It's going to take a very long time for machines to learn how to do that, and even though it is happening in Photoshop already, which is crazy. But I'm sure you've seen all those funny videos of just it doing very, very weird things. So I'm just gonna jump in now and go photo by photo. And if you're already here for this long, thank you for being here. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention again, the classroom is open. You can find a link in the description for the free module, which is all about client experience and how I take a client from inquiry all the way through to booking. It's a whole 2-hour module and it's free. So make sure at the very least, even if you don't want to enroll in the classroom, you can have that module completely for free. And you can have this whole massive, probably over an hour long video to see kind of my workflow in Lightroom and how I'm integrating my presets and this AI workflow into all of your images. Okay, so in a wedding, a lot of times there's going to be a consistent color palette, consistent lighting throughout different scenes. So you would be making those adjustments as necessary. This is just a gallery of a ton of random images because they're all coming from different places. So that's gonna be the nature of why I'm going in and not doing any batch editing. I'm not syncing across 5 to 10 images in gallery mode or library mode or in develop mode on the thumbnails down below. I'm just taking every single image one by one. So we're gonna go into this first one, and I'm just gonna keep names up at the top so you can see who it is, Alex here. So right off the bat, I see in this image, it feels like it adjusted exposure for this kid's skin tone, and that is blowing out a lot more of the highlights, the higher, brighter parts of the image. So what I wanna do here is instead of training the machine to make an adjustment for that specifically, we're just gonna make small adjustments in here. And then I'm going to include all the new tools that are in Lightroom now with masking, because this is where masking can really help. So I'm gonna level it out with our rotation to make sure it's not crooked anymore. And this image feels a bit too magenta purple. So we're gonna decrease the tint, and that's already helped a ton there. And I'm gonna go to the shortcut of this masking, which is just K in Lightroom. And we're gonna create a new mask that is on the subject. Now this is brand new to Lightroom, I think this year. It's all of this smart selection of different things in an image. So I'm gonna select the subject, which it just auto selects. Wild. It's just insane that I went 10 years without having this, and I think every other photographer feels the same. I'm going to increase the exposure because his skin tone is darker in contrast to how light the grass is around. So I'm going to increase the exposure on the subject, which looks overexposed now. And then I'm going to go back to the final image and bring exposure down to even that out then. So now we see more of his face, and it doesn't feel like the grass is overexposed around. So change the tint a little bit more. I want more saturation out of this image, so I'll bump the saturation a little bit there. And I really want more green coming out of the grass. So I'm gonna go to HSL panel down here, increase green. And you can even go to this little tool here and drag it into whatever color you want and increase the saturation. And it's taking a lot of the yellow. So I'll bump that up and then bring the yellow back a bit. And this is feeling really good right here. Now you have to be really careful with the subject selection like this, because it can turn into HDR looking photos really quickly that feel just like not real. It feels like maybe you put a strobe like on the outside, a flash that's hitting the subject, and you don't necessarily want that. If you're going for sort of a natural look, maybe add some clarity to that. But that's right around where I would finish on that image. So we have before and after. Awesome, thanks for sending it in, Alex. Moving on to the next one. Okay, originally looked like this. We have here. So you'll notice in Ravenswood, my preset, the blue is dialed back. You see a lot of the blue saturation dialed back. This is mostly because in a lot of wedding imagery, you have black suits a lot. and sometimes the black can have an ambient tone of blue. And so I try to get rid of that blue, or you have chromatic aberration that makes things look blue. So anytime I want to feature blue in an image, which I do in this one, even though it's not very blue in the raw image, it feels like that sky should be blue. I'm just going to bring it up so that features it more. I'm going to rotate this to try to get the vertical lines in the building parallel with the side of the frame, like so. And if that's not perfect, you still have a falling away effect on the building. You can go into the transform panel and you can transform it to stand up even taller. I wasn't there, but I'm just trying to reference what the image looks like. It almost feels like the shadows are too bright here. And so I have the opposite in my tool panel in the preset pack. I can lift shadows, but I don't want that here. I want the opposite. So I'm going to go and manually adjust the shadows and bring them down. And I'm just going to increase overall saturation in the image to make it more rich. And I think that's right around where I would finish that one. Feels really natural. At KY Jimmy. Don't know where this is. I assume somewhere in Asia. Really beautiful image, very cool looking building. That's about where I would land on that. Maybe a little bit more saturation on the blues. You can drag that tool again in. It almost looks too purple, so I could go to the hue adjustment as well. And I could change that. I don't want it to be purple like that. I actually want it to lean more aqua. So like right around there. Cool. And it's nice. It's a little bit of a dichotomy of the blue sky and the gold yellow in the building. Next up, I have Matthew Barry from Australia. I'm going to hide that just because that's a long name there. Okay, so here in the original, I mean, this is classic what you'll see with AI editing. It's going to be like, hey, this image is way too dark. I'm going to expose it correctly. And that might not be the vibe you're going for in that specific image. A lot of this is used for portraiture where it's lit really well. You're shooting a golden hour. So it's exposing it, especially if you make a mistake and you underexpose or overexpose, it's going to adjust that for you. So in these situations, you're going to need to manually see it's like cranked up the exposure. You want to manually bring that back because I assume the vibe you wanted was really dark here. At least I feel that way because it is blue hour, seems to be blue hour, and you want to communicate that in the image. So maybe not that dark, but somewhere around here. And again, obviously blue is a massive part of this image, so I don't want to stray away from that. And I'm actually going to lower the contrast. Yeah. And that might be a bit too much, so I can dial it back up a little. I want to give it some more saturation. This one's really simple. I don't need to do a bunch of fancy stuff to it. That feels really nice. I like the warm midtones. We don't have to go that warm if we don't want to. We could do it two ways. We could decrease the saturation like so and make the car look more white. But I really kind of like the orange ambient tone. It feels very desert with still not sacrificing the blue in the sky. We even have some purple in there too. So featuring those colors. Since the tree's there, I don't want to lose that. I almost want to lean into it and make the composition more like that. That's what I want. Yep. Beautiful. Really love that. You want to go really vibey? Slap a ton of grain on it. Oh yeah. Vibes for days. Awesome. Thanks for sending that in, Matthew. Next up, we have Suman, I think is how you pronounce that. This is what it looks like originally, and then with 606. Again, we're losing a lot of that blue. There's a lot of blue in these images, sorry. That keeps being a theme. It's not always the case. A lot of times on a bright sunny day, not at golden hour, it doesn't feel that intense, like losing all that blue. But here it's just a lot of the highlights needing to be dialed back in order to see that. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to lift the shadows. There we go. Lower contrast a bit. Whew. And I'm going to straighten that horizon. That is beautiful. So we're going to take more of that. Oh, that's taking... Yeah. This can be tough sometimes because the juxtaposition of blue in the sky and the water is competing with the warm light on her face. So you can make it much cooler, but then you're sacrificing that warm light on her face. If you really wanted to, you could do that subject selection again. And let's just go there. I'll detect her and then I'll actually make her way warmer because we're going to dial back the coolness in the photo. So it's too much right now, but if we take, then we can make the background way more blue. Man, that new tool is just absolutely insane to be able to have that kind of versatility that quickly, because before you had to manually brush all of that in. It was just wild. It's right around where I'd want to end up there. Lowering contrast is going to make the image feel softer, but obviously you lose that punchiness and it raises the shadows naturally. So you got to find that middle ground. Right around there is what I like. Beautiful image. Awesome. Okay, now we have 2 camera scans, both by Adam Laura. I wanted to include both so you could see a black and white and a color. So here is a very different process than digital photography. This is, I assume, a camera scan. Has to be, yeah. Wait. Yeah, shot on a Sony. So Adam was shooting this over a light bed, I assume, and shooting it with a Sony and a macro lens. But this is photographed with a Contax G1 and in Portra 160. Super high resolution scan, which is awesome. And there's some medium format here, Mia 645 Pro with Cinestill black and white. So what I'm going to do, I have another plugin for film photography. So this is another thing you'd have to get if you wanted to camera scan and do the whole film photography thing by yourself. And it is called Negative Lab Pro. It's a plugin very similar to the AI I just showed because, yeah, you can see it right here, Negative Lab Pro. But there is a shortcut to it. First, I'm just going to white balance the image. So the white parts of the frame, I'm just going to hit W as a short key to get the eyedropper. The white balance eyedropper. I'm going to click on that white part. So now we have correct white balance. And then I'm going to go to R, which is the crop shortcut. And I am going to drag a box around the actual frame. I'm going to unlock that so I can get it precise. So I don't want to include any of the white borders because that's going to screw up the conversion. So now we have a negative that's white balanced. Okay. So with Negative Lab Pro, this plugin I have, which is $100, I believe, I'm going to hit Control N, and that's going to pop up my Negative Lab window. Now, previous to this, I wanted to test to make sure it worked. So that's not how it normally looks. I had already converted this image, but I'll unconvert it so you can see what that looks like. You would just hit Convert Negative. It would do that. And then you get that. Already right off the bat, it converted it very clean. We're seeing some blue in the bottom right corner, but I think that's just like a light leak or something. I want to warm this up a little bit. And then give it a little bit of magenta and then saturate it a tad. You bring some of the lights down. Oh, I already had some of my preset things on it. So normally this would be zeroed out. It felt a little underexposed. In film, you can always overexpose quite a bit. Some of the portrait film stocks, you can overexpose up to like 6 stops, which is insane, and you won't blow the highlights. They'll be recoverable. But if you underexpose, you will mess up the shadows. But it's even flexible on the underexposed side, like 3 stops. So this was a bit dark, but even with cranking the brightness up, I still get a really vibrant image. I wouldn't do much more than that. That's gorgeous. Beautiful frame. So we have black and white here. I am going to white balance this also. And then same thing, crop it. Unlock the crop so I can move it exactly where I want. Boop. Control N. Same thing, already converted it, but here's the conversion again. Boom. I hadn't even touched this because I feel like it doesn't really need anything. It's such a gorgeous portrait. Maybe bring some of the highlights down. Some of the darks up, some contrast. Film, not much you need to do to it. It's pretty great. It's just so expensive. Awesome. Beautiful images. Adam, thanks for sending those in. It was really fun to showcase some film in here as well. I have some old stuff, some old YouTube stuff on that. But yeah, I don't have a whole ton, which is just fun to showcase. So, okay. Now we have CO photography, street photo, what looks like Chinese New Year. And we are going to see, like in this situation, the blue does not look desaturated. So it's going to change image to image. There's really not much I would do here. I might cool it down a little bit and add a bit more cyan green, but I do want exposure up more. I'd go like right around there. There's a lot of things happening in this image. There's a lot of color, and yeah, there's not much more I would do there. Maybe increase clarity a bit because there's some motion blur. Oh, shot at a 50th of a second, so that's why. But it's on a 23mm lens, so yeah, that's still well within reason. Just maybe add a bit of clarity to sharpen it up before, after. Shooting raw, always shooting raw. Awesome, thank you. This is what I'm talking about with AI. It's like, this is a perfectly passable, deliverable photo. Like, you don't really need to do anything to that. Look at that. It's incredible. If we wanted to recover more of the sky over there, maybe pull the highlights back a bit. But you don't want to sacrifice, again, you don't want it to look very HDR. Looks like she has a little bit of a wound there. We can just clone stamp that real quick. Oh, it auto-selected a wrinkle from a knuckle, so that makes sense. Okay. Don't want it to be too distracting though. Just like a... Yeah, so I have a pretty strict policy on... Yeah, that doesn't look natural. I have a strict policy on only removing things on the body that normally aren't there, which means like a zit or some sort of abrasion to the skin, because, I don't know, I feel like that's fair. If that's not normally there, you're never really adjusting anything otherwise on the body that's not true to who they are. I just like removing that kind of stuff because it's like, yeah, if I had a zit that day or if I had a cut on my hand or something, like that's not how I normally look. So if I, as the photographer, can do anything about that to serve them well, I want to go the extra mile to be able to do that for them. That literally just doesn't need anything else. I think it's gorgeous the way it is. It really looks like medium format film, which is sick. This is Hoffman. Thanks for sending that in. Looks like Napa Valley or something. Looks like a fun night. Next up, looks like we have a camera here, Sony. Again, there's not too much I feel like I need to do this image. Maybe less magenta, more in the shadows. And if I really wanted to make this less distracting here, I could clone stamp out the Sony logo. I just auto-selected from the pants. Yeah. Never noticed that. Can maybe do the same thing for this little like hold fast clip or something. Also the pants. Nice. There's a couple marks and you never look that close. My philosophy on clone stamping is if you were to look at the image and not notice that there was a clone stamp, then you did your job. As long as it's not distracting. It's about where I'd be. Maybe a little bit more blue. Nice. Okay. Gorgeous scene here. This is where I want to feature more blue. It compensated for shadows to lift those shadows, but I want that blue to come back. So adjust the tint a bit back so it doesn't look as purple. And then sometimes my presets can have like this, see this purple tint? I don't necessarily want that, so I have the ability in the toolkit to remove that purple cast. Level the horizons. Man, this is gorgeous. Oh, something else to note that I didn't earlier. With my presets, it will create uniformity across popular camera profiles. So if I shot this with a Canon, this exact scene, and I applied the Ravenswood preset on my Canon photo and this Sony photo, I would get very similar colors, if not nearly the same colors on applying the preset. So that's really cool. It's proprietary tech that Develop has with their presets that doesn't come with most other preset packs. There really isn't much more I would do to that. It's gorgeous. maybe an adjustment layer coming down to just showcase more of the color in the sky, and maybe not exposure, but more just highlights, and then increasing saturation a bit more. That might be too much. Yeah. Beautiful. Whew. Great. I don't know who sent this in. Thank you. This next frame is wild. James, holy. Again, I want to feature more blue because I feel like I look at the raw and I'm like, this color cast is nutty, and I want to really showcase that. Blue is such a dominant color in this image, so we are just, oh, there it is. Just bring up that slider and boom, it's back. There's not a whole lot you need to do this photo. Maybe center him. Yeah, I will. Or not. Because the wave really kind of, if you put him center, it makes it feel a bit unbalanced. A little bit less contrast. My. Wow. I'm seeing some purple tones in here, which might feel a bit distracting. So maybe I just go to HSL and take some of that purple off. Magenta. Yeah. Give some more luminance on that blue. Really showcase like this section. Make it more teal. Ooh. Yeah, right there. It's gorgeous. And if I just want some more saturation on this side, coming from the sky side, just boost that a bit more. I feel like he's a little punchy and contrasty, so bring his skin tone down a bit. Luminance of his skin up a bit. Boom. That's where I would land on that. That is so beautiful. Holy. Good work, James. Okay. PTSO is the title of this. So I don't know your name. Thank you for sending a photo in. I'm seeing some of that magenta stuff. Again, let's see if the remove purple got rid of some of it there. Can increase or decrease the tint, more cyan. I want to see more of the subject here, so I'm going to increase exposure. Really feature all the greenery here. And if we really wanted to, we could create a new mask and select subject. Got it. So accurate. Wow. Might be too much. Selected. Some more saturation up in here. Really just showcase the greenery in the forest. Yeah, it feels like this brown, like the dirt, feels a little too magenta. So I will go to not luminance, but hue, and kind of adjust that to go more green. Not too much, because that starts making the whole image just way too green. Like right around there. And then still feels a little too much. There we go. And then maybe decrease the saturation on that a little bit. Gorgeous. Sweet. This mountainscape, very cool. Again, we're feeling a bit too warm here. And this is, I tend to edit warm. I tend to push it to the warmer side on portraits. So that's why mine is set that way. We can remove the purple cast again. We see some of that in the shadows of the mountains here. We are going to make the whole image cooler. And it feels a bit bright. So I'm going to bring that down to increase some contrast back into the image. Looking at the original, I want more blue again. Yep. But it's giving kind of that magenta look, which I like. Some more blue here. It's so tight. I'm going to rotate a bit to get it more level. Maybe do like a fun 16:9 crop on this. make it look a little more cinematic. Thanks for sending this in, Eric. Looks amazing. No idea where it is. Is it Norway? Is it Sony? Yeah, Sony. On what lens? We got a 24 to 70. Nice. Good travel lens. Maybe increase some saturation. It's right about where I'd put that. It's just giving you more contrast in the image. If we want this snow to be a bit more white, we could, increase the whites a little bit. But with a warmer image, we'd have to adjust the whole color profile to get it more white. So I'm just going to find a nice happy medium there. It's looking very nice. Beautiful. Okay. We need to rotate this. Command right bracket. We'll rotate it. That's the shortcut. And this feels too desaturated to me. So the first thing I'm going to do is just crank up saturation. Bring more life to her skin. That's already feeling so much better. Now, it also feels too contrasty. Look, it was underexposed, but you saved highlights, which is great. This is why you shoot raw. Save those highlights. Maybe could have increased exposure a little bit, but again, easy. The AI took care of it with exposure compensation. We just want more saturation in there. Feels a little too cyan. I'm going to add some magenta, and I'm going to warm it up a bit right about there. And then I want to lower contrast. Maybe too much, so I can add some back in. We're like right there. Whew. That's great. There is not much more I would do to this photo. Before, after. Very quick, right? And maybe if you want to match more, it feels like this orange, sometimes those colors can tweak a little bit, but that is similar to skin tone, so we got to be careful here. This feels maybe a little too green, so maybe we can dial it back to more red. And then, yeah, I feel like that feels more true to what it looked like in the original. There we go. Sweet. This one, immediately, I want to get this car out of it. I want to get that tree out of it. So I'm going to crop in. There's a lot of blue in the sky, but we don't want to sacrifice the warmth. Shadows up a tad, a little bit more saturation. Because of the sunlight, the skin tone can kind of be a little too green at times. It feels like skin tone's more green on the leg than face here. So we could go in and manually adjust and see if we can find a good middle ground. Like right around there. And if you really wanted to like get really specific and just, that was too much. Brush. This is me just being a freak about things sometimes. You could make this a bit more magenta. Nice, good contrast ratio. Compositions between trees is great. Thanks for sending that in. At Yaswe, South Africa. Very cool. Oh, the Leica M6. So photogenic. There's not much I do to that image. It's just great like that. I'm sorry if those are kind of boring sometimes. As much as I want to criticize AI, I'm like, well, it's pretty incredible to just get to an image and be like, I just don't really need to do much else. I love the warmth of the image. I love that it's shooting shadow side, gives dimension and shape to the camera. I feel like it's saturated. Oh, this is Kyle's photo. That's awesome. Wait, is this someone I know? Is he photographing? I can't tell if that's someone I know. Kyle, comment down below if this is someone I know, because I feel like that's a Clever Supply dual harness. So it feels like it would be Bean or something. Is that one of the cameras from the studio? Is that Steven's camera? I can't tell. Okay, that's really funny. Yeah, like I don't feel like I need to do anything else to that. Like, it looks good to me. Look at the histogram. It's like a great U shape. We're good. Okay, Michael, let's see. We have a lot of negative space on the right side, so I want to cut that down a bit without having to sacrifice the full body here. And if you really wanted to expand the black backdrop, you could in Photoshop, but I'm just going to bring it to like there. I feel like if I go any more, there's not gonna be enough headroom anymore. Yeah. You want to keep enough headroom and footroom so that it feels natural still. Again, not much I do here. Yeah. So it was really dark to start, and then AI, yeah, you can see the chromatic noise because that was really underexposed. Oh yeah, geez, I did not look at exposure. It's really cranked. So let's go back to the original intention of the image. Oops, did not mean to do that. To about, oh, that's still way too dark. Let's go like here. So maybe it does make more sense to leave it like this. Hey, stylistic preference. I'm not going to criticize what you want to do with your image. That is really cool to kind of just have like a black void back there. I don't need highlights to be that pressed back because see what that does. But finding a good middle ground there is really nice because it feels soft on the face with the light without feeling like too matted like that and then too bright like that. So finding a nice middle ground of highlights is the game here. And then just fall off to the shadow into black. I like it at this exposure. Might be a bit too warm, but I like the warmth as well. Feels like just like a nice tungsten bulb against like a black room. So that was original. You have that pop of color. Really enhances that nicely. Thanks for sending that in, Michael. Another landscape. Now this is where blue feels nice. Like in the original, it feels like it could, I don't know, might feel a bit too oversaturated, but depending on the look you want to go for, more of that faded film look, I would still increase blues here, but not too much. I want Rainier to be really centered in this photo, but I don't want to cut off the left side with this little piece here. So maybe like a nice, and I also don't want to do another 16:9 crop because there's like this nice triptych element, like a rule of thirds, like third of negative space, third of mountainscape, third of foreground. Really good composition. I love breaking photos into thirds like that. Really good. Instead of always obsessing with, I don't know what that is. I'm such a freak about small distractions like that. Instead of using rule of thirds where it's like put your subject on that third or that intersection or that intersection or that intersection, I like dividing stuff up into 3 equal parts. So this, you did it horizontally, which is really cool. But you could also do it vertically, which is also very cool. I don't think I would change anything else there. I feel like it's, we can give it some more. I feel like it just needs overall more saturation. Yeah. Ooh, that really brings out the purpley, pastel-y colors in there. Bring down the exposure and maybe lift the shadows a bit more. Again, we don't want this to look HDR, but I do like seeing the foreground. There, a little less contrast. Yeah. You might be wondering from earlier, like, Eric, why do you have all those tools over there and you're not using them? Well, I tend to use these a lot more in portraits, and a lot of these are landscape, or if I'm in the workflow of a wedding is when I typically do those and use them. So yeah, you just basically, I have a toxic trait of doing it here instead of there. I could have literally just gone to dynamic range and done what I just did. But yeah, those are just quick tools to be like, boop, and that's lifting shadows, lowering highlights, or just lowering highlights, or just lifting shadows, or just lowering contrast, just a click of a button real fast. That's about where I'd end on that. Thanks for sending a photo of Rainier. It's gorgeous. Not much I do here. Maybe bring exposure down a bit. This is where we could do dynamic range and lower exposure there so we get more sky. Skin tone feels maybe a bit too magenta, so we can make it a little more green, more filmic. So yeah, it's tough when you have backgrounds that are highlights and then your subjects are more in the shadow. You want to find that middle ground. Yeah, basically just adjusted for white balance there. And John, beautiful photo. Fall's the best. I want to crop in here right away. Get all this stuff on the left out. We can go a 5:7 crop. We can crop it in. I need much more saturation here. This feels... So the AI rendered it like way too desaturated. Like it's literally just... It's just dull everywhere. So I'm going to crank that to like 30, 20, 30. Exposure I want down a bit more, and I want some contrast in there as well. That feels much more true to life. Gets rid of all of that like green that's unnecessary, and cleans up the ground very nicely. That's about where I'd end up on that one. Instead of 5:7, we go 2:3 to feature more of the trees. Yeah, it's nice. Sweet. Okay, this one's really interesting because the original looks like this. Again, AI boosted that exposure. Do we want it that bright? I don't know. I don't think so. I just want to show like a glimpse of the person here and then bring the highlights back up so we can see out the window. Billy, thanks for sending this in. I'm going to do a fun crop again, 16:9, because this feels very cinematic. Yup. And to have less distractions like this little pocket, we don't need that. We can either crop in or I could clone stamp that out, but I think I like cropping better. Some more saturation, some more contrast. And then, yeah, just getting the highlights in the right spot again. Shadows. There's sort of a green tint here that feels distracting, so we can take that away. Is that affecting the image too much? Not really. You don't really see much of the green. You see more of this color palette in there, which is what I want to feature more. Sick. Feels like it's a movie. Nice. Okay, this is super interesting. Okay, so that's very, very different. And this is a great example of like, okay, this feels really golden in the moment. Thanks for sending it in, Peter. But then you get to the edit and you're like, whoa, how do I make it feel like it felt there? You did a great job of saving your highlights. Great job of doing that. But we just need to balance this out now. So let's see what the dynamic range does. That's already helping. If we undo that, that is pulling the shadows up now, and we can just pull the highlights back a bit more. This would be another situation where they're in such a darker setting that it would help to... I'm going to go for background here. So we're going to create a new mask, select the background. Nice. We're going to decrease exposure there, but it's also really blue. So I'm going to warm it up a lot. Whoa. Okay. We're getting there. We're not there yet. It's too warm, and it's too, like the green is too yellow. So I'm going to go to green, and I'm going to make it more green. And I'm going to make yellow more green. Okay. All right. Blue. Get rid of that blue in the background. I need more exposure. We are getting there. That's pretty good. That's about where I'd end up on that. Still feel pretty golden without feeling too green. That's nice. Sorry, I didn't talk a whole lot on that one, but I essentially just selected the background to lower that to give a better ratio of contrast and exposure to the subject. And now you can tell from the original, it's just, they're popping like crazy now. Love these new tools. They're crazy. They're so great. Instead of just doing everything in here and adjusting with shadows and highlights to adjust for that stuff, being able to isolate background and isolate subject is insane for situations like this. Wake up, Matt. What up, Matt Pierce? Thank you for sending this. Obviously, drone shot, unless you're helicoptering. Oh, you must be. That's shot on a Canon. Sick. 24-70. Awesome. Okay. Too bright. We're going to bring that down. Oh, yeah. It's also too warm, so I'm going to get that blue back. Man, we're really losing the sky there. Why is that happening? Because there's still blue in the bottom. It's just a different kind of blue. Oh, not luminance. But saturation, yeah, it's a different shade of blue. So it's really affecting the waves in the bottom left here, which I don't want. So it's just having a hard time interpreting that blue in the highlight. So what we're going to do, again, we can mask, we can try to get the sky. Nice. Make that more blue. There we go. Just change the temp because it doesn't, yeah, that's it. Easy. Change the hue of it. Nope. Maybe a little bit more aqua to match the water. And then a little less saturated because that's a little intense on the blue. There. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, let's get some more shadows up in here so I can see more green. I want more contrast. I want the highlights pulled a little bit more. Oop. And I just want some more saturation. So vibrant. And that green feels a little too yellow. So I'm going to pull that more green, pull yellow more green. And that feels, yeah, much more natural to the initial image. I'm not losing any highlights yet. Right there. Really dynamic shot. Yep, that's right around where I'd want it. We could change the shadows, but it doesn't bother me too much. If you don't want blue in the shadows, you could split tone it a bit more. So yeah, you can go to the color wheels and adjust shadows. Midtones, the shadows. You could do it that way, basically by making it more warm. No, that's not going to work. But you would adjust that. Yeah, I don't want to mess with it. I'm just going to be okay with that. Sweet. Awesome photo. Really fun. You were in a helicopter, I assume, or plane maybe. An M5. Very fun. That was Fran. Hey, Fran. Yeah, it's a beautiful photo. Like that really accentuates the color now with the edit. That's great. I don't feel like I need to do anything to it. Maybe increase exposure. Yeah. And it just gives me more of the color in the image. Get rid of these little guys. Little dust particles. Sweet. I don't need to do anything else. Thanks for sending that in. Photos of Leicas. So great. Just watch me be a perfectionist. Okay. This one ended up being really desaturated for some reason. So we're going to decrease highlights and lower exposure of the image and increase the saturation a lot. Okay, do we have blown highlights? Let's see. Yeah, highlights are blown there. So there's nothing we can do about bringing those back, which is okay. We'll lean into the really bright image by just kind of transitioning this section into more of a fade into the blown highlights. But I want to make it a lot warmer. Yep. Feels maybe too green. And I feel like this skin tone doesn't match this skin tone because of the sunlight. So what I can do is drag, that's shortcut M, for the, what's it called? It's a mask, it's a gradient. So I want to go way warmer with that gradient and more magenta to combat kind of the green tone that's happening on the skin there. We can make it more intense down there. Yeah, and then I could brush that too if I really wanted to. There we go. That's great. Could also turn it into a black and white if you want more vibes with highlights being clipped. And that really fits the emotion too. I really like that. There's not much I do to the black and white. If there's good contrast ratio on the image, the preset takes care of it, which is awesome. There's really not much more I would do there. Maybe bring highlights down a tad or exposure, but looked great. Such a cool image here. Again, we're missing blue. Like, I don't know why it's cutting so hard on that one. It could be because of the Sony profile and it's just different. But again, easy fix. Just bring it back up. And man, that is so different. Let me just completely reset it and throw Ravenswood on there. Yeah, it just looks so different from what AI did to it. So there's Ravenswood without any adjustments. And it's still pretty faded. That's a lot better though. Purple cast, nice. That green is a bit too yellow. The yellow is a bit there. It processed it as yellow. So yeah, there we go. That looks more like what it looks like from the original. I want that to be a bit more centered. And then yeah, this, to me, this image is all about saturation. So I want to bring shadows up a little bit, feature more of the tree down here so it's not just totally black, but I want a bit more blue, maybe a bit more aqua, and yeah, just saturation. Whew. Gorgeous. Rick, very cool photo. Thanks for sending that. Oh, is there a bobber stuck in the tree? Get rid of that if we want to. Most of the time on my clone stamp, I'm just using the heel setting. Usually blends it way better because if you do the actual clone stamp, then it'll stamp an exact part of the other image and it doesn't blend well. Different exposure, different color. There's something else going on the top right over here, like a dust spot or something on the sensor. Very nice. A little bit less magenta. Yeah, right there. Beautiful. Yep, there's another one. I literally do not need to do anything to that. Holy crap. Yep, I knew that was Fuji. This is Fuji medium format, isn't it? What do we have here? Why can't I find the camera? I never know where to find the camera. Metadata. Fuji, where are you? That one? XT4? XT2? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, GFX. I was like, what? GFX 50S. Nice. Who shot this? Hunter Hart. Beautiful image. It just maybe needs a little bit less magenta. I don't need to do anything else. Dang it, these Fuji medium formats, like you just throw a preset on them and they're gorgeous. And the resolution's insane and it's sharp and that's it. That's it. That's an ad. Great job, Hunter. Okay, so we want all cameras again. I don't need to do anything else to that. Beautiful photo. Okay, this is interesting. That let's go to develop. That's original. Immediately I'm like, I don't want this sign. Let's get rid of this. So a lot of times, I mean, you could do clone stamping in Photoshop if you really wanted to. I feel like I've gotten so good at it over the years, like in Lightroom, that I just stay in here. So right away, you're never gonna notice a difference there. Let's get rid of the 2 posts. Boom, done. Okay, this is gonna be the trickier part, but I feel like we can match this with that. Let's just get a clean ridge line first. So we're gonna clone stamp this section exactly with that. We'll go like right there with an exact clone copy. And we want this as well. Oh, this is where you start to see Lightroom slow down a lot. That should be good. Okay, so now we're gonna take the whole sign. This is, yeah, AI is gonna change all of my stupid shenanigans doing this. I don't know, it's so satisfying to do it as well. So that's obviously not good. Honestly, sometimes if you blend it with heal mode, you just don't even, you would never notice that. You wouldn't, but it's not great. If you blew it up big, you'd notice. So here we're gonna go to like this little tree patch. Yep. And then in there, I'm just gonna kind of like clean it up a little bit, do some other things, kind of blend it. That little section is a little noticeable on the hill. Doop. You are never going to notice that, ever. Gone. Now I could do the same thing with the car behind him. That's just gonna take a lot longer. I never do clone stamping in Photoshop, so maybe the new tools that are in there could take care of that, but I'm just gonna leave that as is. We want more exposure. We want more warmth. We want the sky back. Let's grab the sky. It's at a completely different exposure. Bring that down. And we're gonna saturate it up. Jeez, need to crank it to 100. That's like a nice faded gradient. I mean, the highlights aren't clipped, so let's just make it a lot more blue. Yeah. Yeah. Depends on how much you want to go here with vibes, like how much sky you really want there. Again, it starts to look too HDR if you do too much to it. And then I want this to be a 5x7 because there is a bit too much negative space up top, and I want to get rid of that left side there. And then we're going to be like right there. Ta-da! Very nice. A little more saturation overall. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Shin Portraits, thanks for sending that in. Okay, original here. Yeah, this is feeling too desaturated. Again, sky, it's too warm. We need to bring that down much better. And then a little too desaturated. Let's go boop, 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 boop. Not much more I'd do to that. Peter, very cool. This also is in a helicopter or from a tower. I don't know. It feels pretty Wes Anderson, like that color palette and just like being on the water. Great. We could do the sky thing again. Don't need to there. It's a cloudy day. At Tide Knot. This is another one of those. Like, this is what I'm talking about with 606 and portraits and weddings. Like, you just, and especially with impossible things, you just barely have to touch these images. Like, I would deliver that photo. I would. Now, if we don't want the hair sticking up, that's fair. We could just do a little heel clone stamp there. See if it works there as well. Sometimes it does a weird thing on the bottom because it's trying to blend the hair. So we just do a normal stamp there, and then you can go over the normal stamp with a heel. There. Got rid of those little flyaways. Maybe a bit too magenta purple. Got rid of that purple cast that was showing up a little bit. See, like, you get blue in those ambient tones, so that's why the blue is down. That's what I mentioned earlier. Give a little bit more saturation, a little bit more warmth, and I'm sending that. If you want to go more vibey, make it more of the highlight, the sun highlighting them. You can decrease exposure like that. That is awesome. Great portrait. Okay, this next one feels, come on Lightroom, you can do it. This feels too warm and magenta, so a bit more cyan. I actually like that warmth now. I like that exposure. It feels nice and bright. Depending on how much you want in the background here, we have that guy standing there. So we could turn this into a 5x7. Looks like a senior portrait. Get rid of any chromatic aberration we see there, if this would fix it at all. Yeah. It's any of the coloring that you see on the fringes of highlights. I need more saturation here. That's looking good. So literally just cropped that dude out that was standing over by the sign. And then this just features the subject so much more. We could clone stamp that out. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now. But that's like right about where I'd want to end up, right there. Again, I lean more warm in my edits. Total preference call. Doesn't feel like white isn't white. You know, if you start getting too warm, then it's like, ooh, that's a bit much, you know? Yeah, right in that kind of range right there. That's what I like. A little bit of warmth in the shadows and the highlights. Chef's kiss. This is another medium format Fuji. Don't even need to touch it. Come on, that's just, the image is just unfair. This also feels like Wes Anderson. Too bright. I want it like there, shadows up, really pastel-y looking. Give me more saturation overall. Give me more blue in the sky and more magenta pink in the clouds and orange and everything. That's... Sometimes you look at the original photo and you're like, I kind of like that more than your edit. I hate when that happens. Like right there. Yeah. That feels like a Joe Greer photo. Like the color palette. Caleb. Great work. This feels like something Joe would shoot. He loves the beach. This photo's insane. Josh, way to go. So that's obviously way cooler there. Again, the way I have Impossible Things set up, I'm shooting a lot more warm. I actually love that vibe. It feels very 70s. I mean, do we just leave it like that? We could increase saturation. No, I want it like right. Yeah, because you see like the glow of the highlights there featured. We're going to increase the saturation a bit. That looks like it's from a film from the 60s. That's so sick. And we're going to slap some grain on this because why not? Yup. Not as much purple. Yeah. That's gorgeous. For fun, we're going to go 239. Let's see what 2391 crop looks like. This is like fully cinematic mode. Yep. That's so sick. Okay. Yep. That's great. Wow. Now, yeah, you can go like a completely different direction with this. I can make another copy. That's just Command apostrophe. Gives me a duplicate. And I could go like really cool and really dark. And all of a sudden now it's like a horror film. Shooting raw, folks. Look at the difference there. Ready? That vibe. That vibe. Same photo. What the? It's not rendering fast enough, but you get the idea. Wow. That's why, honestly, in filmmaking, shooting in RAW is such a game changer for having differences in short films and scenes like that, where it completely changes the tone. You don't normally do that in weddings because you just want everything to look true to life and natural and normal. But man, when you start shooting creative stuff like that is just really cool. Epic photo, Josh. Really, that was really fun to play with. I don't know whose image this is. Again, I don't feel like there's much I need to do here. That's the original. It feels like highlights are just a bit hot, so we can make it darker. We can saturate it up. There's just not a whole ton of dynamics in concert photography because the stage lights are so bright. So like if you really wanted to showcase the audience more, you could pull the shadows way up and just feature them more like that. But yeah, that's about all I would do. Wow, the AI really just turned that into a beautifully even lit portrait. But if I wanted that to be, again, like that's what I would deliver to client probably, like there, because it feels really natural. And in a wedding setting, portrait setting, you'd want to be combating all of the like crazy light. But if you were going like full cinematic mode, again, we would lean into all that and just make it such a vibe like this. And we go really dark. Make it very like Ozark. Oops. So wild what the difference is. And then we can increase saturation and go more like that. But that's the original, which I feel like that accentuates the original much more. But CB, yeah, again, this is what I would probably deliver to client in like a normal, natural setting. And then that's much more of a vibey, fun one. Osan, very cool portrait. Okay, Anish, this is really cool. Again, we're dealing with the blue sky thing. So we want to select the sky. And we want to make it blue. And we want that blue to be less purple now. There. That's great. I like that a lot. I don't want to oversaturate this because I feel like the feeling of the photo is just kind of this drab rock sand vibe. And so the sky now feels too blue and dark. So I'm going to, bring it to like that. Oh, I'm obsessed with these new features in Lightroom. Also, now it feels too teal to me. That feels natural. It's really intense in the original photo, but I don't want it to be that intense. That's why my presets lean the way they do. I don't like when the sky is so dark and vibrant. You can even see the natural cast of exposure falling off towards the top, which I don't want either. So I feel like that's a really good middle ground there. Cool photo. Very cool composition with the S curve. And like, again, thirds. Like third, third, third. Sweet. Third, third, third. Your lines are running through the middle third. It's a fantastic composition. Great work, Anish. Matthew Johnston. Sick. Yeah, again, just the AI doing work. Okay, you didn't blow highlights, so that's good. We have, I want to bring the exposure down to about here, and we can hit him with the dynamic range and then lower it even more. Nice. Now we're getting some more sky back in there. Sweet. Level out the horizon a little bit. I want to make this 5x7 so there's not as much just negative headroom. Great. And we're going to give it a little bit more saturation. Bada bing, bada boom. Ta-da. Beautiful. Thank you, Matthew. Edmund. Wow, colors in this are fantastic. I also want this as 5x7. There we go. There's not much I have to do to this. A little bit more saturation. Oops. I don't want to delete that. There we go. Guys, so for the before and after, I'm just hitting the / key right under delete. That's just showing me the shortcut for before and after. All the color in this is being highlighted and gorgeous, and I don't need to do anything else. Maybe some purple in the shadow, maybe some chromatic aberration if you want to get nitpicky. That's all I do there. Beautiful. Same situation with the highlights in the background. So if we can do a couple things to combat. We can decrease highlights. We can do the dynamic range. Usually dynamic range is going to make it too overexposed. So we can decrease that. But then we can select, we can select sky. I don't know if that's going to solve our problem because more of the highlights are on the city and water there too. I think right around there is already looking much better. Like it's not HDR looking, at least in my opinion. We could make it a little cooler. And then a tad more saturation. That really makes the photo pop now. Give some more blue in the background. Yeah. Increase luminance on skin tone a bit. Matthew, very cool photo. Looks like somewhere in Europe, I'm assuming. Maybe Middle East. Very cool. Awesome. Okay, this one, original looks like this. John, original looks like this. AI took it there. So if we really wanted to, like you shot raw, so we could go all the way to there. And that's like already pretty fantastic. There's not that much noise. And you could do denoising now. Let's do it. It just takes a while. So active denoising, but it's gonna do other things. Watch. Holy. These tools are so ridiculous now. Look at that. There's still some, but it is so passable. What on earth? What on earth? Yeah, we lost the sky in the back, but that's not important. Like the subject's important there. This is just to show the power of shooting in RAW and the tools we have available to us now. That's like a full over 4 stops. I did not mean to duplicate that, but unless the denoising gives you a separate image. Oh, it does. I wasn't even looking at the right one. Okay, let it resolve. That's denoised. Now it looks soft, but oh my. So I was the idiot that thought that the denoised one was already there and it wasn't. It's soft. Don't get me wrong. It's soft, but you add some clarity back in. How did it go from that to that? It's so good. It's just so good. Awesome. Okay. That was really cool. All right. I can already tell the green looks too yellow here, and that's why I have a soften greens button. And if it's the opposite, if they feel too neon, you could warm them up, but that's the opposite of what I want right now. So here it's because the sunlight's hitting them, and there's yellow in the leaves. I just want the yellow to look more green. So I just push it that way, and now it feels much more normal. It's too overexposed. I'm gonna dial that back. I love that the person's walking there. That is so cool. Composition's nearly perfect with centeredness. I just want the whole image a bit warmer. Remove some of the purple and shadows. Saturate it up a bit. I don't want the shadows up so much. Like I like the darkness of the shadows. in contrast to the building in the back. A little bit more cyan. Subtle adjustments, honestly. Like the image already speaks for itself. But that yellow and the green was bothering me. So yeah, that feels much more natural to me. Yeah, it almost feels like the orange needs to go a little bit more green as well. But we don't want to lose all the red and orange on the bottom with those leaves. So finding a nice middle ground there. That looks great. Sweet. Yep. Protected dynamic range in this. This is Thomas. What's up, Thomas? Sorry, last one. Oh, I don't know who that was. Thomas, already looking fantastic. It looks like the original image is fairly green. Looks like AI took care of that. Looks like highlights are protected here. We could lift shadows. That did wonders. Okay. Their skin is maybe a bit too magenta, so I dialed it back a little. This just looks like film. I love it. That's great. I don't need to do anything else. Maybe if you want to make them centered, just boop. I like that composition though. I see more of the windows. Beautiful. I don't need to do anything else. Love you, Thomas. Okay, this is the one. This is the one I wanted to talk about. Okay, so I noticed in this image that the couple is out of focus. The couple's out of focus and the background is in focus. Now, I don't mean to put you on blast, Alex. We've all been there. I've back focused before. And thankfully, this is just a portrait session where, like, sure, this is just one image out of probably hundreds that you shot. But if this is like the couple coming down the aisle, this is the first kiss and you back focused, you're like losing your mind. All these new tools are insanely helpful. It might not turn out perfect, but I already messed with this a bit and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to try to replicate it. So first and foremost, I just want to balance the image by getting them center. Okay. So we got them center. We're going to adjust horizons. Okay. So already looking a lot cleaner just with composition's sake. We can also get rid of this stuff on the ground as a distraction. Okay. So we're going to just say see ya to all of these party things on the ground. Okay. Last one. Great. Would never tell the difference. Maybe this one is just a heel instead. Great. Cool. This has there's a little spot in the grass there. Okay. So now they definitely look too magenta. I'm going to make the image more cyan. I'm going to soften the greens because they're a bit crazy. That might have done it too much, so we're going to bring them back a little. There. Warm the image up a little bit. Okay, now color-wise, that's where I want to land. Great. Still out of focus, though. So let's select background. Great. Now this background, I'm going to decrease exposure a little bit, which is going to enhance them. Okay, even if they're out of focus, that's going to make them look more in focus when the background is just a tad bit underexposed more now. At least that's how I feel. Okay, we can also decrease contrast a little bit, and that tends to brighten the image. So we're just gonna decrease exposure again a little. And then in here as well, we are going to go down to clarity and lower. We're gonna go to texture and lower. And now the background is much softer, okay? It's, like I said, not perfect, but passable, okay? Then sharpness, we're gonna go down on sharpness. Okay, so now we have a background that's not really in focus anymore. Like, yeah, it might not be passable bokeh to the camera, and I noticed it didn't select this little section. So we can just manually brush that little part and just decrease the crap of the clarity out of that. Do it on the tree too. Yep, just, there we go. all up in there. Sharpness as well. Noise. Great. Now we're going to select them as subjects. Okay. And now we want to increase clarity on them. Now with this, there's going to be a lot of contrast issues. We don't want noise. Okay, so we want to lower the contrast significantly. Okay, now to me, that looks way too sharp. So we just go to the whole image and we decrease the contrast a bit. Is it perfect? No. Is it passable? 100%. Look at the difference there. It's like got a vibe with the lack of texture in the background. Sure, it's not perfect in some of these spots. I guess my brush there might be a little too much. Maybe it was already on the tree. But you kind of just take what you can get here. But that's just awesome. It's really cool. So taking an out of focus photo and like really cleaning it, I don't know. I get really excited about that kind of stuff. Like, man, we can really do some impressive things. Oh my gosh, only 4 minutes left on this memory card. I gotta hurry. Okay, all right, speed round. I'm sorry if these are yours and at the end. Emily, okay, we're just gonna go quick here. Already great composition. We're running into the blue problem. We could just fix that by making the image more blue, but I want it back in the sky. So we're gonna do that. Great. That's already looking great. I might want him centered. There, boom. A little bit more cyan. Done. Sick. Next. Okay, tilt shift shot by Spencer. Spencer, legend. They're too far away, so I need to crop in a lot here. Just so I can see them. There we go. Some more contrast so I can see them even more. I'm seeing some of that purple cast on the concrete, so I got rid of that. Honestly, I want to go in even more because I just want to see them. Oops. Don't want to unlock that. There we go. So yeah, still get the tilt shift effect. Boom. That's where I would end up. That's sick. Maybe even, yeah, like there. Done. Another right out of the box. Very beautiful. More saturation. There's not much I have to do there. Chris Stack, beautiful image. Nice and like light, beautiful, golden. 3 minutes. Here, I'm just gonna go, I need to change lines, so I'm gonna go to transform and I hit auto. Boom, already straightened out my lines. Maybe need it a little bit more. Again, not much more, I just need more contrast here. There, some more saturation. I could change the tint of the water to be less green, more blue. That's kind of sick. A little less warm. That's about where I'd end up there. And I would also make it a black and white because that'll be epic. Oh, sick. Awesome. Okay, this is downtown Chicago. Very cool. This is where you see some of that purple cast in the shadows. Get rid of that. I want more green and I want it to be warmer. Lower the contrast. Raise it up a tad. Give me some more saturation. That's gorgeous. Taylor, beautiful photo. If you're from Chicago, hello. Hi, neighbor. Again, I would just go more warm there. Here, again, I don't need to do anything. Get rid of a little bit of purple gone. Maybe decrease the blue there in saturation. That's so natural looking and beautiful and looks like film, and I love it. And that's all I have to do. This one, I was going to clone stamp the crap out of it, but you've already seen me do that a ton of times very quickly. Just stuff like that. Just beep. Quick little clone stamp. Does not need to be fancy. More saturation. And I'll clone stamp those out. Maybe that sign down there. That would be a fun black and white as well. Katrina, thanks for sending in the photo. Charlie. Make that a 5x7. Why is there no... Oh, because this is a JPEG. Or it's a TIFF. This is the one. Okay, so if I put Ravenswood on that, that's a little too underexposed. Okay. That truly doesn't need anything else. That's gorgeous. And I love how much it accentuates this like bokeh, this foreground. Looks like a baseball bat there. Beautiful. That also doesn't need anything. Maybe too magenta, a little bit too magenta. And then rotate. That's it. Highlight's gone. It's fine. It's got that bright and yeah. And this is a circumstance where you don't need to save highlights. Like it's totally fine that that's bright. Like you get that it's outside and it's just pouring light through. And I love that. Even film couldn't save that in a lot of circumstances. Thanks for sending that in, Hannah. And then finally, Scott Bowers, what's up? I'm just going to get rid of the catcher there a little bit. Still keep the glove in. And then I want more green here. Like, give me more of that green, yellows. Yeah. Now it's feeling like we have grass. Now it's not gone. Yup. That highlight hitting off of his helmet is sick. More exposure, rotate it a bit more. That's about where I'd end up on that. Very cool frame. Hope to get frames like this of my kids playing baseball and sports. Amazing. That was so much fun. Again, I'd be remiss if I didn't say we're in the middle of the launch week again for the classroom with the massive discounts. So if you want to get a discount on the bundle, both photo and video, you can use the code that's on the screen here, $600 off. Or if you just want to get the photo course, you're probably a photographer if you're here, you can use this code on the screen for $400 off. Or if you just wanted the filmmaking course, you could use this code for $400 off the filmmaking course. All those are in the description as well. So you have full access to those codes, and that will end July 17th. At midnight, Central Standard Time. I'll be doing a final live stream on that Monday in the evening if you'd like to hop in there. I hope this was fun for you. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. I hope you were like sipping coffee and maybe even just doing something else and had this on the background. I don't know. But thanks for joining in. I hope you learned something. And yeah, leave a comment down below. I'll try to get to as many as I can if you have any questions. Peace.